Imagine walking into a dark cave knowing that the thing inside can't be stabbed, it can't be shot, it can't be cut, and you decide that your backup plan is, I guess I'll wrestle it. It turns out that wasn't the crazy part. The crazy part was that it worked. Welcome back to Myths and Mayhem, where gods create problems, kings make them worse, and heroes become legends by refusing to quit. Today, Heracles walks into a cave with an invincible lion, and only one walks out. Heracles arrived at the hills of Nemean and found nothing. No farmers, no livestock, no noise. Just empty fields and the specific kind of silence that means something else has been eating everything that used to make sound around here. He tracked the massive paw prints up the rocky slopes until he didn't need to track them anymore, because the lion was just standing there. It was enormous in the way that takes a moment to process. Its shoulders sat higher than most men's heads. Its paws were the size of something you don't want to think about too carefully. Its mane caught the afternoon light like it was aware of the effect and decided to lean into it. Its eyes found Heracles immediately and stayed there. Neither one of them moved. Somewhere on Mount Olympus, Ares pulled up a chair. Heracles reached for his bow, drew an arrow, aimed, and fired. The arrow hit the lion right in the shoulder. A perfect shot. A shot that would kill any other lion. But the only thing it did was make a sound like somebody dropping a coin on a marble floor. The lion looked at it. He looked at Heracles. Heracles fired again. Same result. He tried throwing a spear. The spear exploded. He drew his sword. The blade rang off of the hide like he was trying to swing it at a building. He lowered the sword slowly. He looked at the lion and thought, this thing is becoming inconvenient. The lion's hide was completely impervious to weapons. Bronze, iron, wood, stone, it didn't matter. Imagine traveling to fight the most dangerous animal in the known world and discovering that it has simply opted out of being killable. The lion let out a roar that shook loose rock off of the surrounding cliffs. Every ranged option was gone. Every bladed option was gone, which left exactly one option. And to be fair, we all knew this was going to be the option from the beginning. Now, a younger Heracles would have just charged, but we've already seen how that goes. But that version of him was gone now. What was left was quieter, heavier, a man who had lost everything that mattered to him and was slowly and reluctantly discovering that hitting things harder isn't actually a complete battle philosophy. So instead of charging, he stopped. He watched. The lion went through the dead grass the same way something moves when it generally never had a reason to worry about anything. Unhurried, enormous, and completely indifferent to the concept of consequences. And every single time, it went back to the same cave cut into the hillside. Heracles looked at the cave for a long time. It had two entrances, one in the front and the other around the back, half buried in loose rock and shadow. Heracles sealed the rear entrance with boulders, just his hands and the hillside. The lion walked past without even looking at him and went inside. Heracles followed, club in hand. No bow, no spear, no sword, just hardwood and knuckles, and whatever expression a person makes when he has consciously decided to follow an invincible predator into a dark cave with just a piece of wood. Somewhere in Mycenae, Eurystheus is praying this plan would work. Somewhere in Nemean, the villagers are doing exactly what they always do whenever someone new goes after the lion.
preparing a funeral. And somewhere in that cave, in the dark, something that had never lost a fight in its entire life was about to have a very educational evening. The cave went dark almost immediately. Cold air, close walls, the smell of old rock, and something older than that. Heracles could see almost nothing. The lion could see everything. The first lunge came without warning. Just a shift in air pressure, and then the claws hitting solid stone where Heracles had been standing a half a second earlier. He rolled. Rock fragments scattered across the floor. He swung the club and connected with the lion's skull with a crack that bounced off every wall. The lion dropped. It shook its head once, the same way that someone does when they are stunned but not hurt. And it got back up and came again. What happened next was not a heroic battle that made any traditional sense. There was no technique worth describing, no divine light illuminating the moment for posterity. Just two things in a dark cave, one of them bleeding, the other one not, beating the absolute hell out of each other with complete commitment and absolutely no sign that either one was planning to stop anytime soon. Until the club gave out. One swing, one final impact, and then Heracles was standing in the dark holding the handle connected to nothing. He looked at it and looked at the lion. The lion looked back at him with the look of something that had been mildly inconvenienced, but whose patience had finally run out. Most people would have left, gone home, sat down somewhere, and thought seriously about a different career. Heracles set the handle down and walked toward the lion. Because somewhere underneath everything, something had finally occurred to him. Even though the hide couldn't be cut, the lion still had to breathe, still had a throat, still had to move air in and out of its body like every other living thing that ever existed. Now he had a new plan. On the next lunge from the lion, Heracles swung around and jumped on its back, wrapped both arms around its neck, and held on. The lion drove him into the cave wall hard enough to crack stone, roared directly into his ear with a sound that was less noise and more physical force that went straight through him. Heracles didn't let go. His feet found the floor again. His arms locked tighter. They just stayed there. Two exhausted things in the dark. One invincible, one not. Neither one willing to be the first to stop. This wasn't about strength anymore. Strength had run out a while back. This was something else. The specific quality of a person who has already lost everything that they were afraid of losing and therefore is completely running out of things to be afraid of. There's a version of rock bottom that is actually just freedom. It's not comfortable. It doesn't feel like freedom when you're in it. But there's no more calculations to run. There's no more worst case scenarios to weigh. Just the thing right in front of you and the decision not to let go. The thrashing slowed. The roaring faded. The great golden body went still. And the cave went completely quiet. And Heracles stood there in the dark, still holding on, still breathing. The Nemean Lion was dead.